So here we have the rear axle assembly completely removed from the car. I have drained the diff, but there's still a little drip coming out of the overflow. You can see here, those are the holes that really shouldn't be there. And you can also see it sort of split. So yeah, this is definitely coming off and being replaced. I think this piece is okay. It's a bit flaky in places, but I'm sure that'll clean up okay. Now this spacer in the corner here is a bit weird. It's all oxidized, which sort of says to me that it was aluminium or aluminum for our American friends. The one on the other side just sort of disintegrated. I'm not sure whether it should be a rectangle or a square, or or a tubular aluminium spacer. According to the Jaguar Heritage website, it should be like just a spacer, a round spacer. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. If anybody knows what it, anyone can confirm what it should be, please put a note in the comments. I think I'm just going to find a spacer that goes, from here to here. They are available. 25 quid for a pair of them, but yeah, we'll probably just do that. As you can see, I managed to get the bolt out, a bit of heat, but just look at this. Totally disintegrated. It's hard to work out what it was initially. Tapping around, found an extra hole here. Tapped on the end of the bolt to give it a bit of a shock. Applied some heat as well, and just look, this piece is totally rotten. It was my everyday car, used out in the salt, rain, you name it, I drove it. 135,000 miles, daily driver, for about 8 or 9 years, I suppose. So yeah, look, totally knackered. So obviously I can get some more spacers apparently. I've seen it's about 18 millimeters, that depth. It's an M12 bolt. Hopefully we can find a replacement for a sensible price. No longer available from Jaguar. So as you can see, I've taken the subframe off. We do have this hole here, so it's definitely being replaced. Some of them, if you've got the HID headlights, which this car has by default, this is a sensor to measure the height of the suspension. This bracket, if you look at the ones on eBay for example, they don't come with this bracket, so make sure you take that off your old one if you've got HID headlights. Couple of interesting things. These look like some interesting kind of spacers that are cones, which obviously fit into this bit here. If we go down here, you can see they go in there. So that's the diff. Some corrosion there, but it's usually oxidization. Some oxidization there. So yeah, I mean those bolts, all these bolts came off pretty easily. There's like a finer thread on these two. These are the short ones, go in the bottom here. The ones in the short ones go in the bottom. I might just put them in there just so that I know. The very short ones go in there. Slightly longer ones go in here. Looks like they've got red Loctite on them, so we'll make sure we put some Loctite on them when we put new ones on. Whether we use the same bolts or not is another matter. Just to see if we can find something suitable. I mean, these came off so easily. There's no damage to their heads. I might just clean them up a bit and put them back. And these were the ones that went along the top here. Here, you know, all the ones in the middle. Yeah, they just went on the top. So again, they do have lock nuts on. So maybe we'll just buy new lock nuts or something. We might buy the bolts if we can find them. A lot of the bolts here, if you look on the Jaggy website, they're not available. You know, and they're only like high tensile M12s, so not, you know, just getting the length right, and that's about it really. So we'll just get some replacements rather than put those in. Might have a look around to get some the spacer. There's obviously, you know, I showed you earlier the spacer just falls to bits. That's the gap is 18mm. The bolt is an M12, but it's quite a fine thread, those ones. Where's that one? Yeah, that's one of those. So yeah, that's a much finer thread than the others. So yeah, we might certainly see if we can find some replacements for some of those. Yeah, going back to the subframe. Yeah, you can see it's sort of delaminated here and here and here. Look at it. Yeah, that's definitely for recycling. So yeah, we've just got to find one. There's some on eBay from £200 to nearly £550. Some have been sandblasted, painted, powder coated, different options, some with replacement bushes, some without, some with options to get higher stiffer bushes or whatever. I'm just going to go with the standard bushes. Yeah, we've lowered the suspension, so that's going to be a bit stiffer anyway, so I certainly don't want to add any other stiffness. A little bit of play will help. So my next task is to get these springs out. I seem to remember when I changed the bush in here. That's what I did. I changed the bush in there or the other side. I can't remember exactly which one. I think it was this one over here. I changed that bush in there. When I looked up on various people doing that replacement, they all said get a replacement bolt because you're not going to get that one out. It's going to be terrible. You might have to cut it out. But I'm sure I did buy 2 bolts, but I'm pretty sure this one came out easily. So yeah, well, that's my next task. Undo them, tap them out. Come back once we've done that. So I took the spring off both sides. Just want to point out that there's still some tension on there, even if you just take taking the bolt out. There's the bolt there. Just taking that bolt out, there is still some tension when you're trying to knock that out. The spring is longer than that space, so definitely, you should be putting a spring clamp across, taking some of that pressure off, rather than just releasing it, because it's quite dangerous. So this is what's on the top. You have like a washer, or actually in mine there's this spacer. And on top we have the spacer that goes in here. Then there's the metal, and then there's this foamy bit on top. It hasn't broken down. May well replace that. I'm sure there's some replacements that maybe give you a bit more longevity, maybe a stiffer ride. Not that I want a stiffer ride. you know, I have got the lowering shocks, but the car did have sport suspension, so I have to see what the difference is between the old and the new springs. I'll do that now. So there is quite a difference there from the old springs and the new springs. Maybe I'll measure that, see what it actually is. So there you go. It's getting on nearly for 30 mil. Is that right? Yeah, 25, 30 mil there, look. It's a big difference, isn't it? More than I thought. Yeah. One thing to remember when you're taking this off, there is, you can see here, there is actually a spacer amongst this corrosion. Maybe that's the spacer there. No, that's just it's just corrosion in there. So we'll clean all that up before we put it back on for sure. Let's go and look at the other side then. So if you look here, there is a lip. Whereas you look here, there it's the opposite. Have we got anything on here? So that's definitely a spacer there, look. Definitely a spacer. There certainly should be one. Gonna need both hands. So a little bit of gentle persuasion, and there's a spacer on this side too. So you need to make sure you take these off of your old subframe before you throw it in the bin. Like I said, there's also these. You know, I've got the HID headlights, which had this assembly here bolted onto it. So yeah, you have to take that off. It goes that way around actually, but undo those two bolts. Make sure you take that bit off, because that may well not come with your replacement. So this is the passenger side suspension foot, or whatever it's called. You know, it's certainly rusty, but if you look here, it's delaminated, and there's actually a part missing here, this little triangular shape. So yeah, this isn't going back on. I'm going to have to replace this one. You know, a simple, you know, just a quick start with a, well, as soon as I saw that, I basically stopped. But the other side doesn't look anywhere near as bad. I've gone over it with my this needle gun. So, you know, using this, if there's any weakness at all, it will find it. That's how I found the holes in the subframe. So yeah, it's seems, you know, we don't have that delamination here and here, solid there. So I don't think there's a need to replace it. Yeah, we're not doing a full restoration, nut and bolt restoration. We're just trying to get it back to a good working condition so that I can use it, get it through an MOT, and that will, you know, this one will not get through an MOT, but I think this one certainly will. You can get right in here with, you know, you can push those, you know, get those right in there. So yeah, that's good. You know, that's definitely, you know, if there were any weaknesses in that, it would definitely find them. So yeah, quite happy with that. I'll put some rust preventer or rust eater type or converter type stuff on that first, and then we'll prep it up and paint it with some epoxy. So yeah, hopefully that'll be, we can save, they're about £150 each, so hopefully that'll save some money. Obviously some of the bolts we're definitely going to have to replace. That was one of the bolts from the cross braces. Again, we're going to have to clean these up. And this is the M12 that was going through that bush at the top. That I had to cut to get out, so that's the reason they're here. I don't know whether or not I will have a look, see, maybe I'll replace these, but we'll definitely have to get some red Loctite. I don't have any red Loctite, I've got blue Loctite, so I'll have to, it's a bit nuts actually. I've got a red Loctite container, but it's actually blue stuff inside. So yeah, we'll have to get some red Loctite for those. So yeah, I'm just looking around for some nuts and bolts and spacers. Obviously that's going to be protected and repaired, cleaned up and reused. That's going in the bin. These are going to be cleaned up and protected and repainted, etc. So it's going to look the part when it goes back together again, but I'm not going to go mad. I'm not going to replace that just because the new one will be shiny. Pretty sure it's tough enough and strong enough just to be cleaned, prepped up and go back in, rather than a complete replacement, but that is a little bit too far gone. Okay, so these are the clips that were in the bracket above, at the back of the suspension. As you can see, we've got an M12 nut going into there, sort of some kind of, well, effectively a captive nut. And what I did with the other one was I drilled out the bolt, and you can see we've actually got a reasonable thread in there, so we can actually reuse this. So that's what we're going to do to this one. We're going to drill it out and get it out. If you see, I've drilled quite a big hole through it. Hopefully we can then tap this into it and then turn that. All I've done is I've banged that into there a bit, so that's a rectangle in the hole, and then using an adjustable spanner, it's actually turning. I guess it's sort of like an easy out, I guess. There you go. So I don't know quite why. So yeah, I don't know quite why that didn't want to come out. It doesn't look that bad at all, but there was no way they were going to undo. I guess there's a bit of pressure on it or whatever when the suspension's up there, but I just could not undo them. So I ended up cutting them, which is this side. So yeah, so now I have two of these to reuse. I only need to buy some new M12 bolts and that's it. Excellent. So there you have it. I had two replacement bolts. These are 10.9, so they're good. High tensile bolts. Yeah, we won't use that one, but so we use these. The only difference was the originals. This is the original, and that had, as you can see, it's got a flanged head. So I think all we'll do is we put a washer under there. Do have some slightly shorter ones if if there's needs. Yeah, that's probably not good enough. So yeah, I'm going to use these ones. Put a washer in there. So if you put a washer in there, you're going to be like that. So yeah, that's all good. Blended. So we'll clip these back in. Two new bushes, and we'll use those bolts there. As you can see, this side's not too bad actually. I've gone over that with my needle gun, which is pretty violent, and if there's a hole it'll find it. There is still a slight bit of delamination here. Much worse on the other side. I will definitely repair the other side. Still deciding whether or not to cut some out and replace that. But as you can see, I've done a little bit of prep here. Very similar condition to Simon at the barn. The problem here, John at To The Garage, he had a problem there. This part here, this is a very common failure that I had repaired a long time ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago. I did say earlier in one of my videos that I'd only had the car for 6 years, but that's not that's definitely wrong. I've had the car since 2013, and it was my daily driver for work, and did about, I don't know, 80 or 90,000 miles in it, all weathers, etc. Hence it did suffer from the elements, especially here in the UK where we put salt on the road. But effectively what I'm doing as I'm going around, I've gone over it now with the needle gun, so if there's anything that's a little bit delicate, it will definitely uncover that. So we do need a few minor repairs up here. On the other side, which I'll go and show you in a sec, needs a few more. So let's go over to the other side. Sorry about the heater noise, I've turned it off, but so obviously it's in the cool down period, so it still blows a bit. But as you can see here, in a similar place to the other side, it has delaminated, but actually a bit worse on here. So we're probably going to cut a square, something like that. You can see how thick that is. Cut that out and replace it with some what looks like 1 or 2 mil thick steel. Replace that. Again, like I say, I had this part replaced a long time ago, way before I had a garage and things. So yeah, we'll definitely get on and clean up some of this. This kind of stuff here is just really yeah, a little bit of surface rust. Get that off with a wire brush, probably on a drill though. Get that off and put some metal preservative on it and go from there. So that's probably the rest of my afternoon is cleaning this up. When I get to cutting this out and repairing it, that'll probably be in the next video. It's almost Christmas, so yeah, there are some things that I have to do for that, of course. So yeah, we'll keep going and bring you back as needed. So you can see I have gone around, painted everywhere that it looked like there was a bit of rust. Obviously did try to clean it all up with a brush first, a wire brush on a cordless drill. So done all that. I'm not taking off all that heat shield. You know, we're just trying to get this car back on the road. I'm not trying to do a full restoration. Let's try not to get some reaction from the lights. So yeah, that's as good as it's going to get. I will protect that afterwards. I'll put some epoxy paint over the bits I can easily get to. I'll spray some underseal type stuff into the crevices. Once I've sprayed the outside and there's no more danger of contamination, I will spray wax type, oily wax into some of these access holes to make sure all of the parts I can't get to with paint. That says 24 hours if you want to overpaint it. It says 8 hours for water based, but I'm going to paint it with some epoxy, so I'm going to wait until which is solvent obviously. I'm going to wait 24 hours, allow that to go off, and then paint all the underside here. Hi there, it's now a couple of days since I painted the rust converter on underneath there. I have yet to do the epoxy. It's now the 29th of December, so after Christmas. Did celebrate that, had a good Christmas, hope you did too. But I just thought I'd round off the year thanking you for watching my videos. Hopefully it's inspired some of you to go out in the garage and, you know, tinker with your cars, get them back working, etc., solving a few problems. You don't have to go as extreme as this and try and respray the whole car, but hopefully it's given you a bit of encouragement to get out there and play. Next year, definitely, I need to get this car back on the road. I want to use it. So we will respray it as soon as the temperature increases to a sensible point. Obviously, I've got to epoxy underneath here. We've got to fix the other side, the other suspension mounting point on the driver's passenger side. So yeah, we've got to fix that, you know, under here. And then I've got to buy a replacement subframe and clean up all of this, and again epoxy all of this. And we've got new discs and pads to go on, etc. I have to buy all of those, but so it's going to be an expensive start to the year, but we've got to get it done. So that's pretty much, you know, 2026. Clean this up, put it all back together again. New discs and pads all round. Clean up the calipers. Might respray those. Clean under here. Paint under here with epoxy. Reassemble. That's it really. Not much. Not if you say it quickly. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope 2025 was good to you and 2026 will be even better. So yeah, thanks for watching.